Welcome to the Fall and Rise podcast. Today we're joined with Christopher Hill. Chris, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you?
So, as you kindly said, my name is Chris. I'm a coach and kind of coach an array of athletes, mostly endurance sports. I've been doing so for the last 10 years with my own business, but kind of 16 years in total. I'm an endurance athlete, mental health advocate, kind of raise a ton of money for charity and just try my best to kind of stretch my comfort zone and be a good human being.
Wow. You mentioned you're an endurance athlete. Can you tell us what kind of endurance sports you do?
So it kind of started initially with triathlon. So what the very first thing I did was a 5K pool swim. So I started off with doing a Marie Curie 5K pool swim at the local pool. Then after that, my partner ran a half marathon, Cardiff half, where I'm from, um, to raise money in remembrance of her uncle passing from cancer. I was really inspired by that, so I ran the Cardiff half myself the following year, and then ran it with a friend the year after, and then naively made the jump from there to Ironman, just kind of straight off the bat, straight in, and kind of at that time was in a space where, like, as a coach, kind of try to define out like what my niche was, where I was going with kind of my career in regards to coaching. Wanted to kind of set myself up and set myself apart from everyone else in the gym. I had a random guy come up to me in the gym and ask me for a triathlon plan, and I just kind of said to him, I know nothing about triathlon, but if you give me a couple of weeks, I'll buy some books and I'll write you a plan. And you like, are you okay with that? They said yes. So I did that. And then at the time I was also in uni, and my lecturer was like, what type of coach do you want to be? Do you want to be someone that walks the walk or talks the talk? And I was like, well, both. I want to breathe it, I want to be about it. So if I say I'm going to do something, then I kind of want to have that action about me to go off and do it. And then at the same time, within this 2 week period, um, I popped down to kind of West Wales to see family, and it happened to be Ironman Wales's first Ironman event. And then I came back from that, and I was just like, right, this is the thing that is going to be that, because whilst I was there, I saw these two, well, I saw many people, but these two people stood out, and it was this guy. He was like taller than me. I'm just under 6'5". He's like 7'5" easy, like built like a barrel, like, just a proper door filler. And he was doing it, and then this little old lady was behind him, and she was 74 years old, and I was just like, how are they doing this? And I was just really inspired by it. I kind of went home, jumped on YouTubed everything, and I was like, right, this is the thing. This is the thing that's going to help me be more than I currently was as a person, and wanted to be this dad that was inspiring to my kids, wanted to be this person that believed in himself, just because I never did as a child. And kind of jumped into endurance sports primarily from that first Ironman. For me, it was kind of, their mantra is anything is possible. And I kind of really bought into that. So, like, for me, kind of that first year was kind of really selling myself the idea of the moment I walked through that finish line, that kind of doorway, if you will. It was me opening up doors in my life and just believing that I can do anything that I set my mind to. And then since then, it's just been me adding layers to that, because naturally we do one and we don't realize that it's like paper mache, and you think, right, I could do anything now. And then you're like, you're still panicky, and you're still worrying about the same things that you used to worry about, because it hasn't, kind of, the concrete hasn't set yet. And since then, I've just been adding layers and layers to the things I do. And yeah.
Well, you've certainly done a few Ironmans, I think it's fair to say, and you've done a triple Ironman.
Yeah. So since then, obviously we had the pandemic that kind of put a halt on things for a couple of years, but I kind of filled my time with other made up events then. Since then I've done kind of 7 full official distance Ironman, and then last year I kind of jumped in on my first ever continuous triple Ironman. So it's kind of like all the swim in one go. So it's works out about 12. I think it's was 3.8 kilometers per swim, so it's 3 times the distance of that. All in one go. Then it's like 336-mile bike ride, followed by a triple marathon of 78 miles. Um, and yeah, kind of had 2 lots of 2 hours sleep in between, and just kind of went out and just did it. And yeah, it was incredible. It was kind of like for me, going from my first Ironman, a load of stuff in between, and then that kind of triple, it was like me walking through the next doorway in my mind, if you will. And yeah, it was incredible.
What motivates you to do this many Ironmans and an event like a triple Ironman? What motivates you to do those things?
So a lot of people assume that it's ego. It's this need to prove that I'm better than other people and so on and so forth. When in reality, it's needing to know that I'm enough as a person for myself. A lot of it comes from kind of childhood trauma and me just wanting to heal myself and my own mental ability, if you will. And then there's just the part of it that kind of I think it's cool. Um, I like, wouldn't it be cool to do this sort of thing, or wouldn't it be cool to, like, I'm drawn to um, extreme things by nature. Like climbing big mountains, kind of doing extreme challenges. The people that inspire me are those people that kind of pave the way for kind of other people, and like if I had more resources, more finances and things like that, then I would absolutely do more extreme stuff. I think a lot of it is kind of like trying to get all of those resources and kind of pull it into the dreams and aspirations that I have. But for me, ultimately, I want to live a life of adventure. I want to be this old man that is inspiring my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids, if I'm lucky enough to be here. And just because I've done it, whereas quite often we don't believe that we can do these things because we don't know anyone that's done it. These people are just on people online, or it's different for them, or these, like, years ago, it's just people in books, and we kind of hold on to this dream. But I think a lot of it, like, is trying to find more of myself. I'm massive in self kind of discovery and self exploration, and I think a lot of us kind of, we sit on the sofa and we go, "Oh yeah, I could do that," totally could do that, like, and we kind of judge other people, and we kind of sit there and we go, "Well, it's quite easy to kind of say that you're going to be the hero in the story when you don't know how you would actually handle it." And for me, I really want to know. I want to know that, am I the person that I say I am? And I deal with these kind of trials and tribulations, like, and deal with that adversity in the way that I want to kind of deal with it. Or am I just full of it? Am I talking out my ass, and am I kind of um, not there yet? And I think I kind of use a lot of visuals from a mental perspective, and it's kind of like having a computer game. I'm the character in that game. There's certain characteristics that I want, and I kind of want to max out those characteristics. So then my character, me, can go off and live the way I want to live and be the person I want to aspire to be. Not only for myself, but for my kids, for my partner, for everyone else around me, because I want to be that person. It just takes the investment to become it, you know.
Definitely. And you say, obviously, you do this for yourself, and the reason you started is because everything you've been through. And it's very much a journey of self-development. However,
Absolutely.
you've also raised a lot of money for charity, and you are using what you're doing to benefit other people as well as just yourself. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
So it kind of started off with the way I see it is, if I am going to do these things, it's a great opportunity to put yourself out there, not for the reasons why a lot of people are doing it nowadays. I get the vanity of it. I understand that perspective, and ultimately, now with social media, you can turn it into a great income and a way of living life, with the freedom of that, and so on and so forth. And naturally, I think all of us, to some degree, yourself included, with this podcast, you want to make that dream happen, because not only is it cool to create something of your own, but it's also comes with certain freedoms, and I think that's important. But I also think once you have that platform, it's really important to use that platform for good. For a lot of my life, I've kind of struggled with my own mental health in regards to, like, I have ADHD. I was bullied a lot in school for having ADHD, and being dyslexic meant that I didn't do so well in school. So I kind of grew up thinking I was stupid, and not necessarily believing in myself, because someone like me who is neurodivergent is 20 times more likely to experience negativity in their life than the everyday person. So you're already at a low ebb in regards to your own self-belief and self-confidence. And yet it's slowly transitioning, and the online creative space is building space for kind of neurodivergence in a way where we can use our own individuality to create something for ourselves, because we don't have to fit in a box that we're not designed for. But it's using these platforms, it's using these challenges to dive into making a difference, because for me, having an impact on people is really important. I want to do good. I want to be a good human being, and I want to inspire those around me, and I want to share a level of authenticity where, in a lot of respects, everything I've achieved, yes, it's good to a degree, but it's made me happy. It's made me, like, kind of find more of myself, and it inspires people like yourself to reach out to me. But I also want to share the reality of it, and the fact that, like, I'm not superhuman. I'm just a guy who's trying, and failing forward, if anything. And whilst I'm on this journey, if I can use that as a way to help other people who need it, so help other people, like my first Ironman, I raised just under £5,000 for Macmillan, um, just because they were one of the organizations. Like, I had a lot of people around me, family members, that struggled with, fighting through cancer and have lost their lives for cancer. I know a ton of other people that have also been affected. So I was like, I want to make a difference. I'm doing this cool thing anyway, so why not make a difference at the same time? And then it kind of transpired from that event to other events, and pretty much every year I've kind of picked a charity. I've helped raise money for that charity, and I've picked a challenge to try and better myself and push myself, and also try and maintain focus and just move forward as each year has kind of come along. So yeah.
Your most recent challenge that you tried to do for charity was 10 Ironmans in 10 days. Can you tell us a bit about
Yeah.
that?
So, for whatever reason, since kind of getting in the space of kind of Ironman and so on, you, like, learn more. And I kind of learned about the Deca and what a Deca was. So there's two different versions. There's a continuous version where you do all the swim in one go, all the bike riding one go, and then all the running one go. And then there's one where you do kind of one a day for 10 days. And naturally, kind of it's less known and less heard of and stuff. So kind of very few people do them, seeing as I think it's like 0.01% that do an Ironman. So you can imagine even less do a deca or a triple or anything in between. But for me, it was kind of like, could I do it? Excited about the thought that, like, well, why not me? We always say that, oh, I couldn't do that. Like, well, why not? What is actual the reasons that are stopping you from going off and doing that? So, and it's kind of like similar to things like Ross Edgley famously says, be naive enough to start and stubborn enough to finish. I kind of also live a similar mindset in the sense of, like, if I commit to something, generally I kind of hyper focus on it and I will dive into it and make it happen. But sadly, like, kind of leaning into the Deca, kind of day one, everything was going well, and kind of all of a sudden had a near miss with this 2-ton kind of lorry, and at the time, kind of generally thought I was gone. It was super super close. Literally felt the front end kind of brush my arm as kind of almost hit it. But taking you back to kind of 2016 when I did my first one, 12 weeks out, I got hit by a car. I got sideswiped by like a silver kind of normal car, and it put me in hospital for 2 weeks. And I ended up herniating 3 discs in my lower back. I tore my right outside ligament in my knee, and I kind of tore 2 rotator cuff muscles in my right shoulder. And the back was the real issue. So the other things were kind of only like a grade 2 tear, so they weren't a full tear and needed surgery and stuff. It just needed rehabilitation. And luckily, through my degree, I'm qualified and know how to rehab my body. But unfortunately, my back has kind of been a sensitivity, should I say, since 2016. And I've kind of rehabbed it, got it to a point where it's manageable as long as I keep doing my exercises and keep doing my rehab. But because of this near miss, I kind of had to bunny hop out of the way onto this grass verge, and I ended up spinning around, and my back ended up seizing up. And once that happens, it's just there's not much point pushing on because it's only going to get worse. And that only leads to me being completely immobilized and me having to be in hospital. So knowing that, I kind of had to make the call to kind of stop the challenge, which naturally sucks, but at the same time kind of shows the level of mental healing that I've kind of done since starting this journey. Because like the old me, the younger me would have gone, right, take a load of painkillers, take a load of anti-inflammatories and just crack on and just, you said you were going to do this, you can't fail, whereas I've kind of done the work on myself enough to know when to step away from a challenge, and when to kind of regroup, sort my back out, kind of go again, and then push it to a later date. Because ultimately I'll make it happen and kind of go back and kind of do that. And by all means, it isn't kind of like the end of the Deca kind of challenge, if you will. It's just pausing it for now and then kind of regrouping and going again at a later date. But yeah, wasn't the finish that I kind of thought it was going to be and hoped for. But since then, it's kind of like unpacking the little lessons in it and choosing to keep growing as opposed to feeling like a victim about everything all the time.
Definitely. And you have all these challenges and you talk about the physical aspect of how you rehabilitate yourself and get yourself to where you want to be and where you need to be. But mentally, how do you stay strong and make sure that you keep yourself fit and ready to keep pushing through all the challenges you face?
A lot of it is creating systems. For me, having ADHD, not fitting in a conventional world, the world isn't going to change for me. You know, it's slowly growing and learning and evolving as a society, but it isn't going to change for me. The majority of the world don't know who I am, and why would they? You know, so for me, it's creating systems and putting those in place that help micromanage who I am as a human being, and also help micromanage how I do things. So, take for example, running. You know, most of us, when we're running, we run based on emotion. So when we get tired, we go, right, okay, I can't do this anymore, you know, and we go, right, okay, no, keep going, go to the next lamppost or next tree, you know, and just keep running there, and then I'll walk, you know, or I'm running and I'm chasing the person in front of me, you know, and once I catch them, I then pick the next person in front of me. Whereas I tend to remove the emotion out of it. Because ultimately, if I rely on emotion, then naturally it's going to affect how I do things. Because if I feel good, then I'm running great. And if I don't feel good, then I must be running really bad. Whereas if I use kind of raw data, I use my watch, like, and I'm focusing on kind of pacing and things that I've done in training. So I know where I am, and I can use that pacing to kind of know that I can run at this pace all day, every day. Or if I'm walking, then I'm choosing to go, right, okay, I'm going to run for say 3 minutes, and then I'm going to walk for two. And then there's no if or buts about that. Like, you know, I will run for 3 minutes, and if I then have to break that down because, like in the triple, I'm super tired, then it's 1 minute at a time. And then all I have to do is get through 3 1 minute intervals. And then as soon as that hits, then I got 2 minutes to keep walking, keep plowing on, to have food, have like hydration, to think that I'm having some sort of rest, even though I'm still walking and covering some distance. But then as soon as that 2 minutes, have the discipline to then go, right, 3 minutes, let's go. And I did that for 78 miles, you know, and there was no, there was nothing else to it. It was literally 78 miles off the back of the swim and the bike. I didn't have any sleep before that. During that period, I just went out and just did it. And towards the end, there's a clip on my Instagram, I think, where I'm literally walking the last like couple hundred meters, and it's because the person next to me was keeping me awake as I was walking. And because when we were over Cardiff Big Barrage, I was falling asleep whilst walking because my brain knew what I had to do, and it wasn't giving up. And it was just my body being tired and exhausted from everything that I'd already done. Now, for me, that shows how much growth I've overcome in the last 10 years, because years ago, when I would go for a run, I didn't know if I could do it. You know, it was like, right, you're running a 5K, or you're running a half marathon, or you're running your first ultra, and you're like, why am I doing this? This sucks. Like this, like, I don't know if I can make it to the end or whatever. Whereas now I don't have that belief, because I know I can do hard things, because I've built up this CV, and kind of going into these races, I'm consistently like picking myself up like this kind of 3D object, and kind of like on a Rubik's Cube, just like flipping it around and understanding and studying who I am, and using these systems that I can go, right, okay, you are capable of hard things. And okay, like not being able to do this Decker, it had everything to do with the situation. It didn't have anything to do with me as a person. So it's okay to have that setback. It's frustrating, naturally, but it's okay. It doesn't define who you are, because for me, redefining failure in this way, that to me, failure is wanting to do something but not allowing yourself to do it. It's going to a race, for example, and standing on the sideline behind the barriers, cheering everyone on, whilst you really want to do that race. And no one else knows, no one else cares, but you're there going, I really wish I was running, you know, or whatever it may be, but I really wish I was doing it. Like, to me, that's failure. to me, that is going to have me as an old man having regret. Everything else is either a setback or learning opportunity, or like this decker, just pausing it, ready for next time. It doesn't define like whether I'll do it or not. And similar to, I don't know if you noticed, there's a lady who swam from Cuba to Florida, right? First person to ever do it. She wanted to do it when she was in her 20s. She ended up doing it, I think, when she was in her 60s. I think 65 it was, right? Now, to me, she failed a million times doing that, right? She had to create ways to stop sharks from attacking her, to keep jellyfish off her, to kind of go through those pains and deal with the cold and so on. To me, that isn't a wasted life. That's a life. She lived her life to a fullest, and she achieved something that no other human being has ever achieved. And for me, that's incredible. And that's not to say each of us have to achieve things that no one else has done, but we should achieve things that we really want to do and we really believe that we can do. You know, whether people care about it or not, that's irrelevant. I care about the Decker. No one else does. My family care because I care. You know, if I then say, oh, I'm not going to do it, they won't care anymore. And same with other people around me. So the only reason why I want to do it is because I want to see if I can go the distance, you know, and what that means afterwards, I don't know, you know, does it have to be bigger each time? No, of course it doesn't, you know, but what it might do is give me the unwavering confidence to then approach my next challenge with even more confidence because I know who I am. And then whenever people give me their opinions, I also know who I'm not because I've done these things. So it's kind of tapping into those mental kind of structures and systems to allow you to kind of look at your CV, if you will, and know who you are. So then that way you can keep pushing forward, you know.
You mentioned earlier you started a coaching business. That must have a lot of challenges in it with managing clients. What lessons have you learned from your challenges that you've transferred across to your business?
To never stop believing, you know, similar to this podcast, you know, you're going to find people wish you all the best right at the start. Then you start launching it and then you start getting some traction and then no one else cares. They're like, oh, still banging on about the podcast. Amazing. Wicked. Like, do you want to shut up now? Should we move on to the next thing? You know, and it's super tough because you got to be there banging this drum, you know, for your business, for yourself, for your podcast, for this dream that you have, you know, because eventually the people around you will quieten and quieten because, say, for example, you've got another two mates that want to create this podcast, but you do it and they don't. They don't want to be around you because you remind them that they didn't do it. Every win for you reminds them of every loss for them. So they don't want to be around that, you know, and it becomes really lonely. Now, you guys are really lucky because you have each other. And when one of you is tired, the other person's going to pick it up and is going to bang that drum, you know, and you're going to alternate. You're going to play at each other's strengths and each other's weaknesses, you know. You're going to have each other to pick up the slack and hold each other accountable. So endurance sport has taught me a lot about life. It's also taught me a lot about business because in a lot of respects, when it sucks and it's quite dark and it's lonely and you're out there and it's raining and it's miserable and you're going, why am I doing this? It's the reminder when you look back on all the things that you've had those moments that you can't appreciate the good times unless you've gone through the bad times, unless you've really appreciated the bad times, because it's the bad times that teach you the most. If you have a successful year and you launch this up and you go amazing, first year has been incredible. Like we've done non-stop growth all the way through. And then year two happens and it doesn't happen the same way. Well, what's year 3 look like? Does year 3 even become year 3, or does year 2 stop everything because it didn't look like year 1? But for me, it's about the butterfly effect. It's about compound effect. It's going, right, okay, as long as I keep investing in this thing, eventually I'm going to get there. Like for me, I said about like my YouTube channel, right? So similar to yourself, I want to grow a YouTube channel. I want to get it to the point where I can live off my YouTube channel, so I can live all my adventures and make my adventures my lifestyle. Um, the way I described it to my sister's family is, imagine this, right? I go to an edge of a pier, and every video is a little stone, and I throw this stone off. And every Tuesday, 6:30, I throw this stone off into the water. Before you know it, you've got a bunch of fish in the water saying, "Hey, I bet you today, 6:30, there's going to be a stone that drops in our water." And the other one's like, "Nah, you're full of it, mate." And he's like, "No, watch, ready? 3, 2, 1, this stone just drops in." Before you know it, you've got this mound of stones. Before you know it, you've got a gigantic mound of stones. Now it's starting to look a bit like the Great Barrier Reef. You know, you've got so much content out there that these stones are actually a bit of a safe haven for these fish. So now you've got a community living in these stones that you keep dropping in. For me, it's about that. For me, knowing that if I keep hammering this nail, if I keep throwing those stones, I will attract the community, because I'm not the only person that finds this stuff cool. I'm not the only person that really wants to improve, that wants to believe in himself, that wants to know that actually I am enough. All that bullying when I was a kid, the trauma that I experienced for whatever reason, maybe they were all wrong, and maybe I am worth something. Maybe that I can go off and build something, just because everyone else thinks it's crazy, because you should get a 9 to 5 job and just work for someone. And it's far safer because you know exactly what income you're having every month and so on. And that's great for some people. That's great because they need it. I don't fit in that round hole. I'm a square peg, and I fully kind of accept that, and I fully understand that if 1% of the world's population run a marathon and 0.01% do an Ironman, and I'm over here wanting to do a Deca, and that means by definition, I'm not like everybody else. And years ago, I used to get bullied for it, whereas now I accept it. And I understand that I'm built completely different to most people. So why can't I go off and do the things that most people turn around and say they can't, because they said I couldn't do an Ironman. They said I couldn't do a triple. Like the year before that, I did all the UK Ironman races in 1 year. That hadn't been done before. And I did it with a 10K weighted vest on. So it's these things that it couldn't be done. And yet I went off and did it. It was like during the pandemic in May, I hadn't left my house for 2 months, right? I did a 10K walk around Cardiff Bay Barrage and got a blister. The following week, the start of the May month, I broke a world record for running the most half marathons in a month. Took the record from 18 to 35. And tons of people said I couldn't do it. And I knew I could. And the reason why I knew I could, because the year before I tried running 14 days of running 20 miles a day, just because someone challenged me to run the distance between Earth and the moon, right? Stupid as it is, right? And I was like, how long would that take, And then I was like, oh, well, if I did it over 2 weeks, I would break the record that someone did it in, by 5 days. And that works out 20 miles a day. Could I do that? Now, at the time, I ended up running 7 days, right? And having to stop because my knee hadn't healed from that car incident. and I hadn't kind of learned enough about rehab and kind of physio to kind of fully rehab my knee properly to not get to that point where I was kind of hurting. And at the time, I was still working, and I was working 6 days a week as well. So I was getting up at 4 in the morning, running, then working at 6, and then kind of working till 9 and stuff. So I hadn't had that balance. Now all of a sudden, I got the pandemic. I'm not working at all, and all I have to do each day is run a half marathon. Well, that's really easy, because I've got all this time to recover. So I knew I could do it, and it was the first time ever that I definitively knew that I could do this. And everyone doubted at the start. And then as I got closer to breaking that world record, people then wanted to start coming running with me. And then after it, people were like, why are you still going? You've broken it. And then the last week, when I decided to do 2 days for the last 7 days, everyone then came out of the woodworks and was like, Chris, you're going to hurt yourself. Chris, you're going to do this. Chris, it's too warm. Like a couple of guys like I know are in the army, and a couple of people died that year doing SAS selection, and tried telling me that if I keep pushing on, that something bad is going to happen to me. And yeah, at the end of the month, they all stood there and clapped and cheered on and was like, how did you do this? And it's just understanding that like doing things like this is great for your mindset, period. And then it filters into who you are as a person. Because quite often we compartmentalize everything and we go, oh, in work, I'm this person because I did my education. I went off to uni, I got qualified, and now I'm really confident in my job because I know what I'm doing. And yet we leave that confidence in our job box. We don't take it out into life. When in reality, I spend most of my time, if not all my time, obsessing on my own character. Like, am I this person? Am I selling myself this story? Like, what are my perspectives looking like? And what lessons am I learning in this area to then put into these other areas? And then ultimately just getting all of those boxes and dumping it on the table and just going, this is who I am, the good, the bad, everything in between, and so on. So it's those lessons that I've learned through hard things and understanding that I'm still here and still able to do those hard things that I can then put into business. So when people doubt me, whether it's from a business perspective or an athletic perspective, or even just as a person, I can go, well, it's not the first time. So it doesn't matter. Like, thank you for your opinion. I never asked for it, but thank you. Can I take anything out of that? Like, can I learn why they said those things? Maybe it's an oversight that I haven't looked into. Maybe they actually, like, if we can control our egos about those things, like, we can learn quite a lot from like people's authenticity and why they're saying what they're saying. Are they saying it because they're threatened? Are they saying it because actually they care, but they don't know how to like showcase this, then we can learn quite a lot from it. And then we can then put it into the business, the performance, the whatever it may be.
100%. I mean, just so much information, but it's absolutely someone that you could just sit and listen to for a very long time. Chris, we have 3 questions that we ask all of our guests. And the first one,
who inspired you?
For me, it's my family, my kids and my partner. For me, I had a family when I was, started my family when I was 21. Had it really early on because at that time, all I wanted was my little, like a group of people to love me unconditionally, because I grew up and I didn't feel like I had that. So when I had my family at the time, me and my partner hadn't known each other that long. So from first meeting her to 18 months later, having my daughter, it was very early on, and naturally, everyone was like, what are you doing? This is crazy, like you shouldn't, like, you've just ruined your life, And I made a promise to my partner that I was going to be everything that I said I was going to be. I made a promise to my firstborn child and every like my other two since then that I was going to be everything that they needed me to be. And at the time, I didn't feel like I was. I had all of that locked in deep inside me. So it was doing all these things, pushing myself as much as I can and forever will. It's because I want to keep those promises. It's because they inspire me every single day. Because for me, I didn't start believing in myself until I had my daughter, and I didn't give myself an option to not believe in myself. It had to happen. You know, I went back to education and I finished school the first time and only had 3 GCSEs, C and above. I had to then do like a BTEC in college and then go to uni that way and stuff. And just always believed I just wasn't academic. You know, I had my daughter and I went back to college and I had 18 out of 18 distinctions because I needed 17 out of 18 to get into uni. So I was working in nightclubs at the time. I was finishing work at 3 in the morning, coming home, doing my college work, and then having a few hours of sleep, and then getting up and going to college all day. So it's these things that like my family and that commitment to that family is absolutely like the reason why I push myself so much. Because if I can teach my kids to believe in themselves without a shadow of a doubt and understand that like from now until forever, they will always be able to use my house, their home, as this hub to keep going, you know? So kind of like a respawn point in a game, you know, that they can go off, explore, do life. And if they fail, they come back, restart, I'll pick them up and then push them out and then go again, like, you know? So it's understanding that failure isn't failure. Like, you know, if you believe you can do this, then go out and do it, like, you know, and if it takes you the rest of your life, then cool. Like, you know, you didn't build a career by going to uni, you know, just because you graduated, it doesn't mean anything. You know, how many people graduate and then never get a job or career in the thing that they graduated in? So it's understanding that, yes, that was part of your life and it was an important part because you might have learned some things or those experiences, and you get to take that experience, you know, and if at any point you change direction or whatever, that's okay. This is life, you know, and so for me, it's them, you know, if I can make them believe in themselves as much as I do right now at that age, my youngest is 9, 12 and 15, then that's the goal, you know.
Yeah. Our second question is, if your younger self could see you now, what would they say?
I think my younger self would be blown away, you know. Funny enough, I've done a lot of work in regards to therapy this year about like talking to my younger self, my older self, and my current self, or whatever. And I think what I've realized is I've become the person my younger self needed. I've become the hero that my younger self needed, and um, I think I'd tell my younger self that everything you're going through is everything you need to go through because it's the fuel. It's that never-ending resource that, like, you know, that you need for all this stuff. It's that hunger. But I think I would tell my younger self that it's just going to be all right, you know, and showcase them that, like, actually, you can be whatever you want to be, regardless of how crazy it seems to everyone else. Not everyone else is meant to be what we're meant to be, you know. And I think society, if you take it back to like caveman days, and like I use an analogy of a spear, not everyone's meant to be the tip of the spear. We need the people at the bottom of the shaft, you know. We need, like, just like with society as a whole, we need intellectual people who are office-based people. I am not an office-based person, you know, and vice versa. You know, the world would be in absolute disarray if there was like 50 million of me, like, you know. Um, but yeah, I think it'd be learn to be kind to yourself, show yourself compassion. Don't be so hard on yourself, and just go. Don't think of failure as the way you're thinking of it. Just go. Don't be afraid to start.
And the final question we have for you is a message for anyone who's listening.
Similar to myself, don't be afraid to start. I think the hardest thing, like how long did you talk about this podcast before you started this podcast?
A couple of hours.
Yeah.
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 Good. So, unlike that, right? So, a lot of people, we talk about things, or like, is there a list of things in your head right now that you might want to share or not share that you go, I've always wanted to do this, but it's not the right time, or I wish I could do this, or whatever. I think there is never the right time. I think a lot of the opportunities I've had and the experiences I've had are off the back of right now that you have this opportunity, take it. Yes, it means you've got 5 things on now and that you're even busier, but I promise you, you will find the time if you want it. Like, it's the same with Ironman training, right? So you work 40 hours a week, you do your podcast, but you approach me and you want to be an Ironman as well. And you're going to use this Ironman experience to like talk about in your podcast, and you're going to touch in on it every so often, as well as your own experiences, and get guests on like me and so on and so forth. If you want it, you'll have it, and you'll make it. You'll sacrifice telly time on your phone. We all have that ability to look at our phone and just swipe it. It says that we spent 4 hours today on our phone. Well, 4 hours is a big chunk of your day that could effectively be your training, So the more you lean into the fact that just do it, and that starting is the scariest thing, because it's like putting yourself out there on social media, putting yourself out there. People are going to potentially judge you or not. People's opinions don't matter. Does it make you happy? Does it give you purpose? And is it going to make you feel fulfilled at the end of it? Because like when I went back to uni, I had to study that course over part-time, or so over 6 years. And my friend said to me, 6 years is a long time. Now he wanted to be a chiropractor, which takes 5 years, right? And I said, the thing is, mate, time's going to pass anyway. At least this way I'm going to get something out of it. And when I graduated, the day I graduated, he came along and it popped in my head. And I said, do you remember that time you said to me, that 6 years is a long time? I said, well, 6 years have passed. And he's not a chiropractor. And yet I am who I am. And it kind of blew his mind in that moment. And it wasn't to showcase like, that, you haven't done what you said you were going to do, but it was to prove that now I'm at the start of where I wanted to be. So like, right, like with, I say, like since the pandemic, I've totally changed my life in regards to I work less, I earn more, I've got my family in our first home, and done all these things. And I think, right, in the next 5 years, my life is going to change even more. And I'll be at the stage where I will make my YouTube dream of making that, and I will be able to bring in an income and so on. So for you guys, it's going, right, okay, if you want it, just start and make it happen. Just little things like throw those stones in the sea consistently and turn up for yourself. Because we turn up for work all the time, don't we? If you've got to be at work at 5 a.m, then guess what? You're up at 4 and you're in work at 5, and you don't allow the emotion of things to kind of stop you, because you need to pay your bills, but we don't really show up for ourselves. And I think if I can teach anything to anyone, it's show up for yourself as well. You're the most important person in your life. You are. But it's also amazing have you ever heard the poem, Our Deepest Fear? No. So do you want me to read that out to you?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So this is a poem. I found this poem when I was, in high school getting bullied, right? I was 13 years old, and for whatever reason, I was online and I was searching for things, like searching for meaning. And it got made famous by the film Coach Carter. Have you ever seen that film? It's the, it's the poem that the guy stands up and reads, and it's, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that others won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others the permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others. And for me, I try to embody that. So when I do these challenges, I like to showcase the authentic journey. So like this kind of failure that I've just done with the Decker, I'm going to showcase that actually, if you keep following along my journey, then you'll understand that like in a year or two, I will do that Decker and I will showcase all the ups and downs with it, and I'll get to where I want to be. And then after that, it'll be another challenge and another thing and another thing as I go through life. But hopefully my goal with it all is to give other people the permission to do the same. It's to go, right, okay, through this conversation, hopefully you guys go away and you think about some of the things I've said, and hopefully it turns a little light bulb and you go, actually, let's go. Let's make this stuff happen. Like, you know, I'm making my dream happen. I'm making this podcast happen, you know, and how do we do that to other people? You know, you're going to be doing it with your podcast, you know, because you never know which podcast is going to be the one that hits the light switch for some people, you know. So it's about doing a million podcasts and going, right, okay, how do I affect change in others? How do I motivate others? How do I be the difference? You know, and for me, it's about that. You know, I want to have an impact. So like I kind of equate it to my kids and think, right, okay, how can I be so impactful on my kids that there's a mini version of me on their shoulder? You know, so when they're in a situation that they shouldn't be in, they go, right, I need to get out of this. I need to go home. You know, home is safe. I shouldn't be here. This is dangerous, or this is stupid, or this is going to get me locked up, or whatever. You know, go home. You know, and they hear my voice because I'm influencing them and their behavior, and I'm saying, right, this isn't you. Like, you know, you're better than this. You know, and have that positivity. Or when they don't believe in themselves, they hear my voice telling them that they can do this. You know, why? Because you did all these other things. Or because, why? Because you're my kids and look at everything I've done. I'm not better than you, and look at me, you know, because they see everything and I share everything, you know, because I think it's important for your kids to see your failures and also see your successes, you know, and to talk about those things instead of just talk about the good stuff, you know. And same with social media, you know, I think it's really important to showcase that, like, actually, there is good and bad, you know. We shouldn't just post our perfect pictures, you know. Sometimes we need to show the bloopers as well and normalize that in a way, you know. So, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. That was an incredible episode. Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for reaching out. Thanks for inviting me. I look forward to listening to it and also watching more of your podcast.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.